In the year 1912, the world beheld the launch of the unsinkable, the Titanic. This marvel of engineering was not just a ship, it was a symbol of human triumph, a spectacle of luxury and grandeur that promised to redefine sea travel. The Titanic was a floating city, equipped with extravagant amenities, from opulent dining rooms to lavish cabins and even a swimming pool. It was a beacon of the Edwardian era's elegance and sophistication, a testament to the wealth and power of the industrial age. The maiden voyage of this magnificent ship was an event of high society. The world's richest and most influential figures, including captains of industry, aristocrats and magnates, were among those who booked their tickets to cross the Atlantic aboard this floating palace. The launch of the Titanic was a spectacle, a celebration of human accomplishment, a testament to the belief that mankind had conquered nature. Yet beneath the fanfare and the opulence, a series of eerie coincidences were about to unfold. The Titanic's fate was sealed not just by an iceberg, but by a concatenation of circumstances that would cast a long shadow over the annals of history. As the Titanic prepared to set sail, a few key passengers mysteriously cancelled their reservations. One of the most notable cancellations came from none other than the financier of the Titanic himself, J.P. Morgan. He was set to join the maiden voyage of his luxurious marvel, but allegedly due to illness, he abruptly changed his plans. However, his illness didn't seem to stop him from mingling with art enthusiasts in France on the very day Titanic embarked on its doomed journey. Was it a mere coincidence or a calculated escape? But it wasn't just Morgan. A string of other influential personalities too backed out at the last minute, each cancellation adding to the enigma, painting a curious picture of foreseen disaster. Was it just a case of cold feet, or was there something more ominous at play? The Titanic, dubbed as the Unsinkable, set sail on its maiden voyage on April 10, 1912. A marvel of engineering, it was considered the most luxurious and safest ship of its era. But 4 days into the journey, the unthinkable happened. The ship struck an iceberg and began to sink. Despite the advanced technology and numerous safety measures, the Titanic was ill-prepared for such a disaster. There were not enough lifeboats, and the closest ship that could offer aid was 4 hours away. Over 1,500 lives were lost to the icy depths of the Atlantic. The sinking of the Titanic was a tragedy of epic proportions. But was it merely an accident? A case of misjudged speed and a rogue iceberg? Or was it a premeditated act, a piece of a larger and more sinister puzzle? The sudden cancellations, the lack of preparedness, and the fatal voyage all seemed to point towards a narrative far from the accepted version. And so, the Unsinkable had sunk, but not without leaving a trail of questions. In the wake of the tragedy, the world mourned, yet whispers of a conspiracy began to circulate. The sinking of the Titanic, one of the most devastating maritime disasters in history, was shrouded in a thick veil of mystery and intrigue. As the world grieved, a theory began to emerge, suggesting that this was no accident, but a meticulously planned event. In the heart of this theory is the peculiar absence of red flares on board the doomed ship. Maritime tradition dictates the use of red flares to signal distress and call for rescue. However, on that ill-fated night, the Titanic launched white flares, a signal of celebration, not an SOS. This led many to question, was it a miscommunication, a grave mistake, or a deliberate act to confuse nearby ships and delay rescue? Adding another layer to the mystery was the electromagnetic sealing of decks. For a ship hailed as unsinkable, it was inexplicably equipped with an electromagnetic system that could seal off certain decks, trapping passengers below. Was this a safety measure gone wrong, or a cold-blooded stratagem to ensure the ship's demise? A chilling prophecy further fueled the conspiracy. A book titled Futility, penned by Morgan Robertson, eerily predicted the Titanic's fate 14 years before its voyage. The novel narrated the tale of a colossal ship named the Titan, which sank after hitting an iceberg, taking with it the lives of the majority of its passengers due to a lack of lifeboats. Mysteriously, Robertson met an untimely death, not long after the Titanic's sinking. Was it mere coincidence? Or was there a sinister hand at play in silencing a man who dared to foresee a tragedy? The whispers grew louder, the questions more pressing, and the theory more convincing. Could the sinking of the Titanic be more than just a tragic accident? As we delve deeper into the shadows of this conspiracy, we may find ourselves questioning not just the nature of this disaster, but also the very fabric of our history. In the shadows of the Titanic disaster, another significant event was taking shape: the establishment of the Federal Reserve. Now, the Federal Reserve, for those who might not be familiar, is the central banking system of the United States. It was created in the year following the Titanic disaster in 1913, with the goal of providing the nation with a safer, more flexible, and more stable monetary and financial system. Now, why would we link the Titanic to the Federal Reserve, you might wonder? Well, among the passengers who perished on the Titanic were some of the world's wealthiest and most influential figures of the time. Notably, John Astor III, a prominent American businessman, real estate builder, investor, inventor, writer, lieutenant colonel in the Spanish-American War, and a prominent supporter of the inventor Nikola Tesla. Astor was also known to be a vocal opponent of the creation of the Federal Reserve. His unfortunate demise on the Titanic removed a significant roadblock to the establishment of the Federal Reserve. With him out of the way, the path was clear for the advocates of a central banking system in the United States. But it's not just about Astor. There were other affluent figures who were also known to oppose the Federal Reserve, and coincidentally, they too were on board the doomed ship. Their untimely deaths created a power vacuum in the world of finance and industry, making it easier for the proponents of the Federal Reserve to push through their agenda. It's a curious link, isn't it? A catastrophic event that claimed the lives of influential figures who could have potentially blocked the creation of the Federal Reserve. Just a coincidence? Or was the Titanic disaster a stepping stone to the formation of the Federal Reserve? As always, history leaves us with more questions than answers. The theory that connects the Titanic to the Federal Reserve is indeed fascinating, but is it true? Let's take a moment to recap the main points of this intriguing theory. It suggests that the sinking of the Titanic was not a simple accident, but a meticulously planned event. This plan was allegedly set in motion by influential individuals who stood to gain from the establishment of the Federal Reserve. We've discussed the curious case of J.P. Morgan, whose last-minute cancellation of his reservation on the Titanic raises eyebrows. There's also the mysterious absence of red flares for rescue and the unusual electromagnetic sealing of decks. These points, when pieced together, suggest a sinister premeditation. Then there's the coincidence of the Titanic's demise and the formation of the Federal Reserve the following year. This theory posits that the sinking of the ship was a part of a larger plan to establish the Federal Reserve and create a new world order. Wealthy individuals like John Astor III, who were opposed to the Federal Reserve, perished in the disaster, further fueling the conspiracy. However, it's important to consider the arguments against this theory. Critics argue that these points, while intriguing, are circumstantial at best. They emphasize the lack of concrete evidence linking the events. Additionally, they point out that the establishment of the Federal Reserve had been in discussion for years before the sinking of the Titanic, dismissing the idea of a causal relationship. In the face of such compelling arguments on both sides, it's challenging to reach a definitive conclusion. The theory is shrouded in mystery, just like the Titanic's fateful voyage. It's an intricate web of coincidences, conjectures, and contradictions that continue to baffle us even more than a century later. In the end, the truth may be as elusive as the Titanic itself, resting silently at the bottom of the cold, dark ocean.